In this video, we're going to take a look at what is stress. What is the definition of stress, the perception of stress? I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery, and today, as part of the Stress Without Distress course, I'm going to look at what is stress. So mass media, magazines, TV shows, books, they all talk about modern day stress in terms of something that's horrible, right? Something unnatural, unwanted. We refer to stress as us being stressed out, under stress, overstressed, or we're having a stressful day at work or with the kids, that kind of thing. Now, the original definition of stress is a concept from physics, meaning pressure or tension, which is exerted on a material object. Now, when constructing a skyscraper, for instance, engineers have got to calculate how much stress that the building might need to endure throughout its lifetime, right? Now, this type of stress is measured in terms of units of pressure. And this, understandably, leads us to assume that stress is a force exerted from the outside of our bodies by outside sources, right? So, a simple definition of stress from the Merriam-Webster dictionary is a state of mental tension or worry caused by problems in your life, your work, etc. Something that causes strong feelings of worry or anxiety, or that physical force or pressure. Now, stress is not caused by external events as much as we'd like to think. Stress is a feeling that's created when we react to particular events. It's the body's way of rising to the challenge and preparing to meet a tough situation with focus, with strength, with heightened alertness and stamina, right? Giving you a lot of stamina. Now, I'll give you an example in a little while what I mean by this external processes and our internal reactions. The events that provoke stress are called stressors, and they cover a whole range of different situations, everything from outright physical danger to you actually going and changing a bad habit or trying to get a good habit installed into yourself. The term stress, as we're thinking about it, comes from an Australian-Canadian scientist called Hans Selye. Now, in 1936, he defined stress as the non-specific response of the body to any demand for change. In 1974, Selye tried to distinguish between the external stressor and the internal feeling that I was talking about by referring to the external stressor as stress and the internal response as distress. Now, these two elements have more areas in common when we talk about the older psychological concept of anxiety, which we'll look at a bit more in the next video. Now, later in life, Selye told reporters that everyone knows what stress is, but nobody really knows, and therein lies the problem. So, without a concrete definition to work on, what are the core characteristics that I'm going to work from, right? We're talking about stress being how you respond physically, logically, emotionally to the pressure that's being exerted from the outside. So pressure to conform with other people, who are still drinking while you're stopping drinking. Pressure from other people who want you to stop drinking. Pressure from your bank account, it's getting a bit low. Pressure on your health, the time being wasted by your drinking or drug use or whatever bad habit you've got, and so on, all those kind of things. It can also refer to how you respond to pressure that you're exerting on yourself from the inside through your own self-talk, through your expectations, and so on. For instance, telling yourself that you can't do it, or trying to quit drinking, quitting alcohol, losing weight all at the same time. These are going to create a lot of pressures. When you quit drinking, smoking, or you try to overcome any other bad habit, you're going to go through a period of discomfort, right? Now, how much discomfort you go through depends a lot on how much strain that you're concentrating in that area of your life and what your expectations, what your perceptions are of that. So, stress, as we're going to view it from the standpoint of this course, is internal, right? as we'll look at in a moment and in some of the upcoming videos, it's not the external pressure that's causing the stress, it's your reaction to that pressure that causes what we tend to think of as stress. So that's an important distinction, and it's important to understand that as we go through the rest of this course. Now, the tools that I teach here on Alcohol Mastery all boil down to helping you to figure out what is in your control in the first place, right? What you have control over. If you don't feel something is in your control, I want to help you to examine your alternatives about what you can do to discover or to regain that control, right? Now, often all it takes is a change of thinking. That's sometimes not very difficult. It's often as easy as just looking at things from an alternative perspective. And that alternative perspective opens up a whole new avenue of actions that you can take, giving you more self-control, and it feeds on itself. The more self-control tools you have, the better able you are not only to deal with the external pressures, but also the levels of internal stress that those external pressures are going to generate, they're going to cause inside of you. Now, we're going to look at this topic in much more detail, as I said, in later videos. Suffice to say here that it's hard to give a definition to stress in general, because everyone feels stress and deals with stress in different ways and with varying sort of intensities, right? So I want to give you an example of how stress is internal and how different people handle the same external pressures in different ways. Our example looks at a roller coaster ride, or more specifically at the passengers on that roller coaster ride. Now, some people are loving every single minute of the ride, right? They're hooting, they're hollering, they're screaming, they're at the front with their arms stretched high into the air. These are the thrill seekers, and like I said, they'll almost always try and get into those front seats for the best view, right? Then there are other people who are literally petrified. They're holding the railings in front of them for dear life. Their knuckles are white from the strain. They may have their teeth clenched, their eyes shut, and they're likely to be found more towards the rear of the train, Now, between these two extremes, of course, there are many other types. Some are just out, they find that the ride is great fun, others find it boring, and they've done it so many times. Now, what is it that separates these people? The sense of self-control. The ride is the same for each passenger, right? The cars are the same, as are the bars holding them into their seats, the hills and the valleys, these are all the same. No one person has any more control than the next person. So the external stressor is exerting the same pressure. It's exerting the same force. It's the perceptions and the expectations that separate these different people. The people at the front perceive the whole thing in a different manner to the ones at the back. These people at the front expect to have fun, to have a thrill, while the ones at the back might be having nightmare visions of themselves being thrown high into the air, right? The stress each person feels or doesn't feel is all internal. Now, I'm not saying that you can deal with stress by merely changing your perceptions or your expectations. That's not very practical, right? Especially not with some of the bigger stresses in life. But you can learn more self-control. You can learn to handle your reactions to stress in a different way, in a better way. And that's what this course is all about. So in this video, we looked at a couple of definitions of stress, none of which are entirely satisfactory. So for the purposes of this course, I'm going to use the core definition of stress as being your internal response to any outside stimuli or stressor. In the next video, I'm going to take a look at the question, what is anxiety? Now, if you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. If you want to see these videos in sequence, then please go over to the website and you'll find the link either to the previous video or to the next video below in the post on the website alcoholmastery.com. Until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Onwards and upwards.